this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel.
Don't need to recount the votes. I'm here to destroy all your hopes, dreams, aspirations. It's like poetry with musical inclinations. I see you peripherally, breathe easily, step lightly like on eggshells, or see real shells. I ring bells. Bling bling is green. Don't necessarily need to be seen, but I do need to be heard. In my brain I've accumulated mucho verbs. I'm taking herds to the third curve. Tentacles reaching up into the suburbs. 10 o'clock, do you know where your child is at? Inside of a room, all black, grown men beats. That's where we at. As I stack chips, pockets ain't made of glass, so you can't see me dip.
Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel.
Came from the water, evaporated moisture. Wavy wave in here, I do it for the culture. Cypher, music, I do this. 2023, still moving with a movement. BK where I came from, but the BX raised me in 2015. I became wavy, named by SP. The streets never changed me. I just work smarter, I just work harder. Wanna be Nino, so I need a Carter. So I moved to Harlem, that's where it all started. Discovered my flow, and I became a problem. Can't solve them, why would you want to? I do what I want to, you do what you can do. When it come to bars, I'm lit like a candle.
Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel.
Plus, I've got no area. I'm scarier than rebels in Somalia. Fools be thinking my last name it's Ochoa. Supplier, mozzarella. Observe as I bum rush the Federal Reserve. Sensory overload, making you victim of my venom. Breaking down your molecular structure before I digest even. Instant paralysis. I'm crazy swift with this. You're on my hit list. I'm on your chick's wish list because of this ability to strike repeatedly. Stay coiled. Fools test dissemboils. I bring freaks out at night like the gargoyles.
Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings rocking kingdom apparel. Sauce from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens rocking kingdom apparel.
All right. Good evening. Welcome once again to our weekly Wednesday evening podcast. I am G. Michael Reed in Belize City, our producer in the state of New York, of course, Clinton Young, doing the job from over there. In Los Angeles, we have Mr. Gregory Morrison in the house early tonight. How are you, Gregory?
Good evening, sir. I'm doing well, and good evening to all our guests out there, and good evening to Lisa. I see she just jumped on too.
All right, Lisa is in the house early tonight. Of course, we also might be having Deidre Gillett. She's usually in, and of course, our third leg of the stool, after the third leg of four, actually now. Joe Kawhi will be on. We have a special guest this evening. She should be coming in any minute now. I think you'll be impressed with that. There she is. This is Dr. Caroline Gentle Genety. Welcome to the show, Carol. Caroline,
Thanks for the invite.
There you go. Your mic was off for a minute there. Caroline.
Good night, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A pleasure
All right.
meeting up with you.
The pleasure is mine.
Carolyn is fresh off a full week day camp for youngsters in Belize City. How many people did you have in the camp, Carolyn? It looked
Ah,
like quite a bit.
This year, about 145 showed up, ebb and flowed. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, and they had that. Well, they had fun. I took a couple of my kids over there, and they were very impressed. They said they made new friends. They learned a lot of things. So thank you very much for that experience.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think
Oh, look at that.
there you
Yeah,
is.
That's
yeah.
so cute.
I think you could best describe Carolyn as a community advocate who believes in making a difference.
Yes.
And you did make a difference with this camp. It's what, your second year running, I believe.
My second year. Yes, yes.
And
Second
do
year.
you plan on having it as an annual event?
I think the kids will not let me stop. Yeah.
That's good. It gets infectious.
We had half of them already saying, "What's the date for next year? What are the dates for next year?"
Is it
All right.
repeat that the kids come back, or it's a one-time thing for a new
Well,
group?
it's for age 7 to 12 years old. So they may have some who started this year who are just 7 and may then want to come back next year. But there's some that are 12 that are now 13 and will not be able to come back. Correct.
I see. Okay.
Well,
What do they do in the camp? What type of program is? Sorry, Mr.
Excellent
Chairman.
question.
No,
No,
no.
excellent question. Let's go right in.
Yeah.
And as you could see from the shirts, and the shirts were designed by my son. I have a 14-year-old.
Oh, cool.
So but they go through a cycle of 4. So arts, education, service and gratitude, and sports. And those, they do it just like school, where you have a period for math, and then the next period you have English, and you sort of cycle through. So they get all 4 every day.
Okay.
The first 3 are required, so they have to do the content or the curriculum that we have. For sports, though, they get a choice. They get agency,
Okay.
so they could do table tennis, basketball, football. We had Belize Bank who brought their entire softball team, so they also got to do softball and
Oh.
play and just enjoy. We do both skill as well as team building through that process.
This is held at the venue at the Civic Center.
Swift Hall. At Swift Hall.
At
In
where?
the St. Martin de Porres area.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's from 8:30 to 2:30 every day. They start off with a general area, but we give them a snack in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, snack in the afternoon as well. They also get, the campaign itself is focused on exposure and positive relationships. So it's unlike other camps that already exist. It's not about skill development, but it's about positive relationships and exposing them to new friends, new people, new ways of thinking, new ways of disciplining, new career paths. So they get a lot. The one that G. Michael Reed shines, he's one of my good supporters. He's done it for the last 2 years. On the last day of the camp, which is Friday, maybe I need to back up. On the application the students complete, there's a section that they must identify what they want to be when they grow up.
Oh, cool.
Then we take that information and we try to find some professional throughout
Mentor.
Belize, yes, who actually is from that field or from that profession. So one of the clips you just saw on that Friday is where they get huddle time with a professional. They actually get to sit down with, if they want to be a lawyer, they get to sit down with a lawyer or a magistrate or a draftsman.
Okay.
We had an engineer, we had a teacher, we had a seamstress, we had firemen, we had police, we had a pharmacist, right? All the positions or all the jobs that they see themselves doing when they grow up, we brought somebody there to sit down on the bleacher and chat with them and just ask random questions.
Yeah.
How did you want to do that? How long did it take you? Did you like school? How much money you make? They ask all these questions to guide them through. Yeah.
What's the duration of the camp for the kids?
It's for 5 days.
5 days, okay.
Monday through Friday. General research in social bonding and social control theory talks about impressions that we make. So when you meet somebody for the first time, you need generally 3 interactions. You meet them for the first time, you form an impression. The second time you meet them, you test that impression. Right. Are they still nice? Are they still horrible? Or where are they? You sort of make that second impression. Then by the third, you form something that can last, be a long-lasting bond. So the camp is built on that research context where we help them to build relationships, and we know at least 3 interactions make that happen. And that's why the camp is 5 days.
Okay.
Well, you do come to the table with much qualifications. You have a doctorate in social science, I believe.
Correct. I have a doctorate in social work with an emphasis in human behavior and criminal justice and curriculum development. So I have a minor in criminal justice as well, a bachelor's and a master's in social work. Yes.
And an extensive array of honors to your name. You've been around for a while. Give us a
She
little.
hasn't been around.
me out. I'm not that
Look at
old.
that young face. Come on.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, it looks like it, right? But the experience
Can't be
that's
around
behind
that
that.
long.
Yeah, she has a good makeup artist. What are you talking about? Better than ours, but yeah. Tell us a bit about Carolyn. What's the journey been like for you?
I'm happy to. My journey has been one of good growth and good support. So I started off, a lot of people know my dad as Dougie Fresh. Growing up in Belize City, he sold food in a bicycle cart, so selling enchiladas, meat pie, burgers. The Big Apple, as they call it, was where he sold a lot of his food. So a lot of people know him from there. My mom ran the police canteen downtown on Queen Street. So we grew up around police officers and doing that process for a while. I'm the eldest of 5. My brothers and sisters are still in Belize. My youngest sister is a nun. My middle sister, or my second sister, is an accountant. My brothers are businessmen. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in my life journey. But I went to St. Ignatius, moved on to St. Catherine's, did SJC sixth form, moved on to Spalding University, Louisville, Kentucky, to do my bachelor's and master's, and then did my PhD at IU. Prior to moving to IU, I taught at the University of the West Indies as well as University of Belize for about 5 years or so, and helped them to manage their program. I was successful in helping them to break down their credits and do a crosswalk. So all the credits completed for the social work program at in Belize at UB can be transferred over into the US for individuals to continue their degree. I moved on to IU. I moved up the rank from an assistant professor to an associate professor to a full tenured professor. So I hold that role. I'm currently now in a dean position as well. I moved to an assistant vice president for university academic policy across our 7 campuses and 2 co-locations, and continue to do that work nationally. I am a well-known researcher in social bonding, as well as, social bonding, but also a truancy and absentee expert as well in that field.
As
Looks
if
like you
that's
have
not
good.
enough. Watch, yeah. I mean, one more, Gregory. That you think that's enough, but there are numerous accolades and awards that have been given your way,
Heaped on her,
Carolyn.
huh?
It's
Yeah.
really impressive. I mean, I am
How
impressed.
how did you run into Carolyn,
I've
Mr.
known
Chairman?
Carolyn for some years, actually.
Yeah.
We were friends a long time. I didn't I didn't know she had so much in there, or I would have been more intimidated. But of course, she certainly shunned me all the way. But Carolyn, I'm proud to have known you, and to see where you are at this point and what you're giving back to the community here in Belize. Obviously, you have not forgotten your roots.
No, I'm home every 6 months. Yeah, I give back in all sorts of ways, serving on committees, doing training, doing program and development. In fact, this last trip I did my 30th high school reunion. That's how. So I did that, and I moved into doing 2 community level training, and we did some training for R&G Insurance. I do a lot of training as well for different.
There's your
partners.
answer, Gregory. She's at least 30 years.
Good. She has good family and community grounding. I see.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Yes, you got it right. I am because of my family. Yeah. And my God, indeed. God gives me good strength to help me navigate the process.
Yeah.
I just
So I guess you
go ahead,
Mr.
Greg.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
I guess that one of the things you said, your mom worked at the police canteen and your father worked in by the Big Apple.
Big Apple.
And
No,
so
he was a food vendor, but that was the
Yeah.
place he enjoyed selling food the most. Yeah.
So that gives you a lot of understanding, and probably you also have some some belief in community policing and that type of.
Yes, I did a lot of work with Broster and Newry very early on as well. So I was a part of that work, even with Lauren. I think she and I were both counselors at CYDP a long time ago. I sat on the Youth Hostel. So again, I think G. Michael Reed is right. My CV or my resume is a little bit longer, and I don't want to. This isn't
no.
me.
We want to understand. We want to understand what you're doing.
You worked hard for that privilege, certainly. Trust me.
Correct. So I did a lot with I was on the Youth Hostel, entrepreneurial stuff. I was a part of OAS as well. I did some work with UNDP. I did some work with UNICEF. I helped to establish some of the processes for IT Vet very early. I did some work with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Youth. So I've done a lot of work in that area. I also trained in the prisons, doing a lot of work for UNICEF there as well. So there's a combination of just partnership and collaboration. But I think a lot of that solidified too. I was the executive director of the YMCA of Belize for about 5 years while doing some of these other activities on the side. But I think that just gave me a grounding as to why change is necessary. The reason the camp exists is because I kept looking for a window where it would be different, where I could make a difference that I'm not duplicating. Duplication without duplication without distinction is not quite effective. Right. So I had to look for something that worked, and my research era kept bringing me back to social bonding, and that students need a way to connect, to attach, to be involved, to be committed into something that's positive that will lead them to success. We know from research that once that's there, no matter what background you come from, you will be successful.
Do you do any follow-up with the students, like from last year, to see where they are now in their
we do. Yeah, okay. We do.
Tell us about that.
Informal. It's very
informal. I know, but just tell me some of the anecdotal things that you find from that.
So I'll give you two angles. The one for the ones that did not come back, right? Because they've aged out. But the ones that come back, I'll give you that second piece. The ones that have aged out indicate that it changed their lives. They now have at least some idea about what they want to do. They valued that Friday. Okay. As a result of that, what we did this year was we implemented a life plan. Every single student met with a social worker or counselor at the camp and filled out a plan for their life, for free time, for money, for family, for study, for resources. And at the bottom, identified what help they need and who they need that help from. That's what we're going to use next year to see when they come back, if they've done some of those things. Yes. So the kids that are in it this year kept talking a lot about, oh, miss, I participate, but this year I come because I know I want day off for the Friday and I don't want to be on police again. I want to be one engineer, right? So we've seen a lot of that where because they got exposed to different professions, they now come back to the camp looking to explore more. We had some kids that were very rudimentary. They came in and they sat with the police and that's all they did. This year we saw several of them shopping.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, wow.
They'll start off with the policing and then they'll run across to the seamstress and then they'll run across to some other area, again, valuing the idea of exposure. So we know that by next year, there'll be a change. One of the things we did this year, which is what G. Mike shared with the picture, we added t-shirts. We didn't do t-shirts last year. And that was intentional because we didn't have an idea of the students and sizes. And so it was harder to figure out. But this year we had a gauge based on last year. And so now if you see those t-shirts, G. Mike, you'll probably see them in the neighborhood more often. You run to the shop and you see them with the t-shirts.
How do you finance your program? How do you finance your outreach program? Your five day?
Oh. Well, that was my question because I saw on the news this evening. That
we need to figure out to get you some financing. Yeah, right?
I don't need finance.
I saw on the news this evening that the U.S. was giving a lot of money to different organizations like this. And I'm thinking, well, here's a good program they might be able to look at. I was wondering if that's where did you get a lot of that money and are holding out on us?
No, I did not.
She said it came from her pocket.
Yeah, it came from my pocket because I wanted to make sure that I was in charge of the narrative.
Makes
When
it
you're
more,
That's
building
important.
yeah.
something new, it took me about 2.5 years just to write the curriculum. Right. So it's not just a camp. I had to figure out what goes on the application form. What am I looking for? There's even questions on there about, are you happy?
Yeah.
Right. So the application form itself was one that I made sure that all the key components were there. I have a volunteer process as well that they have to fill in, and a bunch of process they have to get through just to be able to volunteer with the camp. The students
So that's
making
how, so that you have aides, people that assist you in the camp, I'm sure,
We
right?
have about 50 volunteers per day that
Okay.
help us.
Different
So
volunteers come in, or is it one group
generally,
of
we have
volunteers?
about 75% of our volunteers that remain the same and about
Okay.
25% that ebb and flow based on schedule.
I
But they
see.
must commit when they come to either a morning or an afternoon session or a
Mhm.
one-day session. So they may come Monday and not come again, or they may come
Okay.
Monday and Tuesday. But it's not a drop-in volunteer experience.
Yeah.
You do not just drop in for half an
Yeah.
hour or an hour.
Mhm.
Those are visitors. Those are not
Yeah.
volunteers.
Are the volunteers vetted in any way, or are they just
Correct. They
volunteering?
are. They go through a training as well. There's some key areas that we ask them for, but it's generally based on your strengths. So G Mike is great at communication and getting the kids riled up. So G Mike comes on Friday. And we use his skill set in that area. And we demonstrate to students that not all of us are operating in our strengths. And when we over operate in our strengths, then we are stressed.
Mm.
Are you have you
Dr.
there? One second, Lisa. Are you there as far as the curriculum is concerned, or are you? Is it a work in progress? And
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Any curriculum is a work in progress. When you when you build a curriculum, you build 50% of it retroactive based on information you already know. And the other 50% must be leveraged on future, what it is that you want the student to be able to do and how that is progressing. So right now, the curriculum is about 95%. It has at least about 5% that we're using from the students to be able to clarify exactly what they want. One example, for instance, one student said last year, I don't want to come to the camp if it's the same set of sports. So that's why we changed out volleyball and we put in table tennis so that they'll get a new sport that they have not yet been exposed to.
Okay.
go ahead, Lisa. Sorry about that.
Hi, Dr. Carolyn.
Hi, Lisa.
Listen, I was listening to you with the children with the professions or where professions are concerned.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, how would we be able to bridge what you do with Career Day in Belize? I think Belize, the kids have an entire week where they're exposed to careers. How would you bridge those two things together with your group of students?
That's an excellent question. It's one that I will not be able to answer because I don't have all the pieces, but I love how question. So allow me to be creative in a response. So when my process is only based on the data that I collect. So students may tell me items that they may not tell their teacher, or vice versa. I don't know if the teachers are asking the students rather than just simply saying it's career day, I'll bring these 5 people. For these students at the camp, they get to tell me who they want to come. So for instance, one wanted to be a runner. I had no idea what a runner was, right? Until I chat with other people and they go, oh, that's like a courier service where they could buy this or stand in line for somebody and they get paid. Apparently their parents or somebody does that. Another wants to be a forklift driver. These are professions that these students see that they want. The career day in Belize, I don't believe is based on that structure. It's based on the availability or knowledge of the instructor or the teacher and who they can bring. I can offer those professions to the career team in Belize, but I don't know the structure or the process to inform it effectively.
Gotcha. No, I was just asking because I know that I know from a standpoint, I come from the healthcare field, and as you know, that healthcare is a huge industry
Right.
around the world. But it's also there's a shortage of
Correct.
healthcare workers. So I am very driven by the idea of reintroducing to students and young professionals for vocational studies. So I just wanted to just see where you were for with your program, where
I love
vocational
that.
studies is
Yeah.
is
I
is
love
based.
that. In fact, it's within my structure now. So it's one that I've pushed at our university for quite a while. And in my new role as the founding dean of a new 2-year college at Butler University, we will be the only interdisciplinary 2-year college in Indiana offering youth and community advocacy as a degree, healthcare, but healthcare studies that has an administrative and a clinical track, as well as business data analytics. So you get business data analytics and computer science in one degree, and business management. But for the camp, we had students who wanted to be doctors and nurses and pharmacists. So we do have a pool of students. The doctor that committed to come was unable because he got caught in medical processes and could not come. Last year we had the nurse, and so the student was able to talk to the nurse, but this year there was not a request for a nurse.
Now, you said that you and I saw a couple of the table tennis matches that the kids were doing,
Yeah.
and they're excited for that. But in retrospect, I imagine when you saw what their volleyball girls did, you
Yeah.
might now be thinking that maybe we need to, yeah, we really need to big them up. We'll be
You
remiss
got
not
it. You better big them up. They worked so
indeed.
hard.
Yeah. So that means next year volleyball will have to be back in that.
It may, but what we're finding is that the students are not as exposed to volleyball, which is why last year we partnered with the Volleyball Association. So thank you, Lupita and Captain Bruce, who actually showed up for our students, and they were there all week. But the students kept saying, I don't know how to play that. I don't know what to do. So they did not have as many students. Remember, the sports is by choice. So we did not have a lot of them that signed up for volleyball. So we'll see what happens this coming year, and if they want to switch or if we have more players.
Do you think it might be because of the fact that the kids that come are more from you seem to cater more to the underprivileged, and that is volleyball then maybe seen as an elitist sport as opposed to?
It's a good question, but I would not put it on the student. Students who come from low wealth end up having access to only what's made available by adults. And if you go through the South Side, it is very rare that you would see a volleyball net available for students to use. But you will see football readily being kicked around. You would see basketball courts, but you would not see volleyball nor table tennis or all these other sports. So yes, there may be a bias.
That would change.
How do you recruit your prospective attendees to your event?
Good. The prospective bunders. So the bunders come through multiple channels. Because it's focused on exposure, I try to find people who are making a difference like me and extend them the option to send some of their friends or colleagues or neighbors, but 50% come from local. We send the application to St. Martin's and the local schools and the teachers, ask them to identify students who can benefit. But the idea is exposure. So not all of the kids are just from that Southside area. We had some from Ladyville. We had some from what do you call the Bacatong here? We had a good mixture of students from all fields. Even for table tennis, we invited at least 10 students from the Table Tennis Association to participate.
So the students are mostly from the low income part of the community, or is? And
I know you're struggling with a word, so as well, G. Michael, about low income or underprivileged. I prefer to use the term low wealth. So it's not because it's not their fault, and they're not disadvantaged. They are advantaged, right? They're in a better situation. But wealth has a lot to do with the decisions that we make. So a lot of them find themselves in low wealth. Low wealth is you and I, for instance, may have the same job, same process, but if my car breaks down, I am out of a job because that's the only car that I use to go somewhere else. I have no friends that I could call because they don't have cars, right? So it's a matter of understanding wealth and wealth distribution. And that's where these students come from.
Dr. Gentle. Oops.
Girl is
Sorry.
fine.
I
No,
mean, anything that has to do with youth, I'm in. So I
wonderful.
am I'm a big supporter of youth development. And the other question I had is in the near future, would you be seeking out and doing this in other towns or districts? Because I am willing to support this whole idea. I just love the idea about socialization, and as I have said before, I I fell in love with social and civic duties simply because I had that same upbringing as well back home. And when I came to live here, I fell in love with sports. And I love sports. I live sports, I talk sports, I read sports. And sports is one of those disciplines that you can there's a lot of branches you can move forward with. And it brings a level of discipline that we all need as children.
And
It's one of the
adults. Yeah.
foundation, right? It's a foundation that we need. And I
Mhm.
love tennis. So if at any time you need somebody to help you with with Fridays on a tennis day, I'm that girl.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
and
You
I
got to be
grew
in
up.
Belize.
I was just going to say,
I
when are you going to be in Belize? The camp next year is July
tell
7th to the 11th.
nice. See, she gave me a date already.
Yep. So you
Um,
could pencil it on your calendar, plan to be there 7th to the 11th,
the
and come
7th to the
join us.
11th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so and I grew up in a low wealth community as well in the Los Angeles area, and I would play on the walls how to play tennis. I learned how to hit balls on just the wall on a building. And I feel like if we introduce more of these different sports or more professional or vocational skill sets to our children, we would be able to develop them and give them a new perspective, and not based on just the what I call the core professions.
Correct.
And our core professions in Belize is very, very limited. If you're not the teacher, you're the policeman, you're the fireman, and becoming a doctor is still difficult in Belize.
Correct.
There's only a handful of people who have been afforded the opportunity and the privilege to become doctors and lawyers. So
Indeed.
as it is, it's still those two professions are still attainable, unattainable for some,
Well said. Well said.
especially
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I just
sports is one of those
that's where I
areas
am.
that, yeah, no,
Go
I
ahead.
agree with you 100%. Sports is one of those areas, but it's just limited because they don't have the resources. They don't have the tennis ball. They don't have the tennis racket. Yes, there's still a couple of tennis courts in Belize, not all around, but there are a couple of them around. I think it's the idea that the students have so much that they have to deal with. I want to give you an example from the camp. Once the students, each out of the 50 teachers or the 50 the volunteers, we have standard teachers. So we have 2 in each area. So that's at least 8. Then we have sports that has about 9. So we give out about 36 tickets to these individuals that they could give to students who have done something well throughout the day, or somebody falls and instead of laughing, they help to pick them up, or they are volunteering, they're doing stuff throughout the day. So they earn these as a part of the positive discipline, as a part of the curriculum. But when they earn it, I have a whole bunch of prizes that they could choose, whether it's academic items, so pencils, markers, books, reading supplies. And then there are others that over the time we'll put some extra stuff there, maybe for football or basketball, they'll win an item. But this year was the first time several of the students who picked items picked not for themselves, but for others. We had items that were boys and girls. And I asked the little girl if she didn't want the pink one. And she said, no, I'm getting it for my brother. So I want the blue one. We had a pack of socks, right? Random things we put out. And the child wanted to get it because he said, other people in their family needed it. Even on their life plan, one of them, we asked, why do they want to save money? And it was because his mom needed a shoes. These are not kids who are just around technology where they just are thinking about themselves. right? They're really dealing with life and food. We had a visitor, and the person ran up to the visitor and said, "Can you help my dad find a job because he needs a job?" So
Hmm.
these students are carrying life on their shoulders, and when they come, yes, they want to play and they want to engage.
Yeah, because they're
They're also
kids.
balancing, they're balancing a whole bunch of other things.
In terms of the programs, you spoke of art and education and
Yes,
the
art, education, sports, and
appreciation.
service and gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they do in the art programs? So, just tell us, just break it down into
Good
what goes
question.
on in each of those different activities.
Yeah, and it depends upon what we're doing for that day. So I'll give you an
Mhm.
example. On Thursday, no, on Thursday, the students did money management. What you want to do with your money?
Okay.
And we brought in Belize Bank to teach them financial literacy. We did a bunch of different stuff. But in the art section on the gosh, I think
That's fine.
the Tuesday before, we did conservation. How are we going to protect Belize? How are you going to make sure that you're balancing electricity and turning off lights when you should turn off lights? Right. So we did conservation on Tuesday. On Thursday, now we showed them financial literacy, but we also showed them how to recycle. So the art project was to take toilet paper holders and recycled paper, put some pig ears and stuff on it, cut out a hole where they'll create a piggy bank. So it's about putting the same things that we're talking about in practice, but in a way that they could do it with the resources that are available.
Okay.
Interesting that you said that about art. I'm not sure if I shared this gentleman with you guys earlier this week. In San Ignacio, the San Ignacio Public Library, they have several summer programs, like different weeks. It's 2 or 3 weeks they have different programs, about 3 of them. And just last week they concluded their first session of art. And what they did, they taught the kids how to recycle bottles and create vases out of these bottles. Great artwork these kids did from bottles. So it's amazing what they could have done and how we can reuse what we think is useless. They created
Correct.
treasures out of them. So I think that's a great idea when you can
It is.
instill recycle, use the we could recycle what we think is trash.
Correct.
Especially where bottles are concerned. So it was really nice just to see how the kids gravitated and understood recycling, the perspective and the understanding of recycling, and how creative you can be with recycling
Excellent.
through art.
Indeed. And I wish I could take all the credit. My youngest sister, Carlette, who's she's an MSW social worker. She has her own organization working for seniors in Belize, and she's the one that manages my entire art section. So I give kudos to her to that. And she also helps me with my family to prepare all the food for the kids every day. So there's a lot of family partnerships in this work.
Well, you obviously did a lot of legwork because you got a wide variety of people coming in, and you even had the minister come in actually.
Correct. We had the Minister of Education come in to chat with our students for a while and just honestly just validate the work that we were doing. And that in itself was an honor because there are a lot of things that happen throughout our country that are good that we need to amplify more so that it could be replicated. Going back to Lisa's question about can we or will we ever replicate this? I've gotten more requests for that this year than I have ever gotten. I think I did a talk show just last week. Somebody wants to know if we can bring it to Dangriga. Somebody else wants to know if Orange Walk is next. And I've committed to just at least writing up the curriculum so it can be shared. So if people do want to fund and do want to support, I think right now in Belize, I'm good until we expand, but it would be good to get support to maybe stand one up in another district or in another area. But the key about this camp is it's not based on money. It's really based on volunteers and community commitment, right? So we need all these professionals to show up for the students on that Friday. We need the volunteers to show up every day. We need the artwork to make sure that this goes well. It's not just about money. So if we do stand it up in other districts, it's really the community coming out to students and saying, we see you, we support you, and we want to be there for you. So that's the key factor in this work.
I really wanted to believe that the kids were all excited about me on Friday, but I think it was the fire truck. I mean,
Oh my gosh,
when the
yes.
fire truck showed up, how many wanted to be firemen, by the way?
That's a good question. This year we had 11 who signed up that wanted to be firemen or something related to that area. But as you know, once the fire truck sounds, wow.
Everybody want to be
Everybody
fireman.
It's over, yeah. They excited. They got wet this year too. So and nobody seemed to mind. No. Let me introduce our other guest, Richard Dickie Bradley. You know Dickie, don't you?
I
Caroline?
sure do. We did a bunch of the Constitution work together just last summer. Yeah.
But I didn't see him at the camp. Was he invited?
No, he was not. But by virtue of this platform, I am extending an invitation July 7th to the 11th. So the 11th between 10:30 and 11:30. Mr. Dickie Bradley, would you do us the honor of showing up?
So you have Lisa and Dickie.
Yep.
Good night, and a pleasure to see you and listen to you, and congratulations on all the good work that you've been doing.
Good night, thank you.
Who's that?
But I didn't hear a yes or a no. Don't get off that easy.
Well, let's say I missed that first part. I was not quite certain what was being said. I heard the word July. Did I hear the month of July?
July 7th to the 11th. Next year, 2025, Swift Hall, 10:30 to 11:30, inviting your participation.
I have not had a valid passport for more than 10 years.
Yeah, listen,
You don't need it.
You don't need it. You need
don't
one
need
to
it.
the back of the events where you always are, so you could just walk over.
Swift Hall is right around the corner from you, Dickie.
Unless
with
we
that, you might not have heard the extent of the conversation, but Caroline does. Okay then, Caroline does a day camp every year for a week at Swift Hall with lots of children, over 100 and something this year.
123, I think.
Professionals come in and share their experience and talk to the children, give advice and whatnot. So that I think that's something where I think you could fit right in, Dickie. You would give a big contribution, and I mean I'm urging you to accept the invitation.
You already urged me to tune in tonight. So
Well, there you go. Hey, well, Caroline will stay with you for the first hour, so we got lots to talk about in the second
I'll be
hour.
listening.
Caroline, Kamala, running for president. What's your thoughts? You are a woman, and of course, do you think we have an opportunity to see a first woman president of the United States of America?
Of course, there's an opportunity. She's running. She declared.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are the chances are?
That's not for me to say. I think that's for the political conduits who will do their own bidding. But
Do
I
you
think
like her?
it's good to see somebody with her caliber ready to stand up and speak on behalf of the country and be willing to put herself up on the ballot. So I think that in itself should be commended given the situation that we're experiencing. Mhm.
Okay. So, all right. Now the plans are already in place for next year's
Yes.
day camp, of course, and we're looking forward to seeing you back in Belize.
Yep.
Anything that we can? I know you. It's late where you are, and you told us that you could only give us a part of the show. Give us anything else that you wanted to add that we missed out on in this part.
I think the only aspect that I really want to emphasize is about we have to show up for students. This year was the first time we embedded 4 social workers in the camp for the entire week. We've never done that. And that was because students brought a lot of pain with them to the camp for various reasons. And we had some who were crying, or things were happening at home, or mom on drugs and mom left, a bunch of different things going on. When it happened last year, we weren't ready for it, that they were bringing these extra backpack of just burden and challenges with them. So this year, once we did it, we realized we must do it every year. And so I want to thank the social workers from the Counseling Association who showed up and gave all week to work with the students to do that portion. We also experienced, and you saw this at the first portion of the camp, we brought in Red Cross volunteers as well, because the kids are running and they're running but not used to running effectively. So some of them are out of breath, some of them have asthma, some have other stuff that we weren't ready for, but having the Red Cross volunteers as well on site to be able to do that worked really good. But I could not do this without all the people who believe in this work. We had one come all the way from Placencia, and she traveled every day just to be able to volunteer with our students. We had the Belize Bank team who came, and they were just, oh my gosh, we've never had an opportunity to work with students at this level and talk about what is an ATM, why do you save, how much money do you save, what do you do with that money. So the students as well as the volunteers took a lot away. And that's what we want more of. There are a lot of concerns about violence and how we should fix it and what we should do, but all of it is after the fact, right? It's the same issue here in the US. We hear about school shootings all the time, but it's only after then you'll hear a teacher or a volunteer say, well, I did see, or I noticed, but they're not proactive in taking action with those patterns and doing something to disrupt that behavior. A camp like this instills the positive behavior that we're looking for, gives students more people to talk to reach out to when things happen. And I'll close off with 2 students. I think I shared that with you, G. Mike. We had 2 students who wanted to be chef. I could not really find a chef that was free during 12 to 1. So I reached out to a colleague of mine, to Lisa, and Lisa said, let me talk to Lee Mark from Chosang. And Lee Mark said, I can come, but I could only come at this window. And he showed up with his car and let the kids just sort of jump in, get a ride, and go there. He showed them the restaurant for about a whole half an hour and sent them home with food. That type of community commitment without any compensation, without anything else, showing up for our students, showing up for a low wealth student, makes a huge difference for their lifetime. If they never come back to that camp, I know they will be successful.
You spoke about violence. Did you experience any within the course of the camp? Was there?
We didn't have a lot of heavy violence. We had more, what would we call it in Belize? Hard talk.
Okay. Hard stares.
Yes, and sort of competition. And our process for doing that is based on the same ticket. So the students can earn tickets, and they work really hard to earn the ticket. And one child earned ticket in period 1. Let's say that was art. They earned the ticket, but then when it came to sport, they were fighting. And rather than punishing them the typical way, our punishment was just to take back the ticket. And the student cried and got mad and did all the other stuff. But we said, you still have half the day. You still have 2 more periods to go. You can earn back the ticket. And they negotiated. So we use, I don't know how much time I have, but we use the MOP rules, me, others, and property. So that's how we determine punishment. If you have lost respect for yourself, for others, or property, and if you have, then you must go through the 4 A's. You must acknowledge, admit, apologize, and make amends. So we walk the students through those 4 A's, and then we seek a consequence. And the consequence in most times is the removal of the ticket. When the 2 students were arguing, they agreed. Their compromise was that they will sit it out for 10 minutes. They'll let one person go first and use the ball, and the other person would then go. So they come up with their own consequence and their own discipline based on that model.
Wonderful.
And we had some stealing. So some people, we lost a couple balls and stuff like that, but that's expected.
Yeah. Girl, well, on behalf of the children, on behalf of the parents, on behalf of Belize, we really want to say thank you, Carolyn. That was a very successful venture there, and everybody came out ahead. Thank
Really
you
want to
so
applaud her efforts. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
man.
And
Yes.
it's exciting to hear that you're dedicating your time, your treasure and everything to make this happen for the children.
You get it right. And it's also with individuals like yourself who are amplifying it and making a space for me to share it so more people can do it and more can benefit. So again, Dickie, you're on the hook. Lisa, you're on the hook. Cheap Mike, you still have your Fridays. Gregory, you have to figure out when you come. You could do the whole week if you want.
He's the engineer guy.
Already.
He's the engineer guy.
Yeah, he needs the week. He's going to be on the receiving end. So
Thank you so much for making space and time for this conversation.
Sure.
Thank you for what you do, and good luck as well. Thank you
See
for
you
having me.
next year.
Likewise.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. And if you need anything, Miss Dr. Gentle, please come by.
I definitely will. I'll get your contact from G Mike to ensure that we can make that happen. And
Yeah,
if you do want to
Definitely.
donate tennis items or that sort of stuff, somebody asked whether they're tennis courts. There may be a couple, but students may not have equipment.
Right. Okay, we could make that happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
I think the picture with the two little girls have to be the poster picture because that's really was. Look at
It
that.
is.
Just look at our future right there. Gosh,
yeah.
that's me and that's Dr. Gentle when we were kids.
See,
That's us there.
exactly. Exactly. And at least it showcases my son who did the design of the shirt. So if you have designs that you need, he developed this one from scratch. And in the back it says good vibes.
What does it say? What does it
Nice.
say? What are the writings on the front? What does it say?
The front one says summer bond.
Okay.
And the 4 areas are the 4 pillars. So it's the arts, sports, service, and education. And the
I
other is our big Belize flag. Yeah.
Yes.
And you covered all the bases there, girl. Thanks a lot. Carolyn, you're a champion.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, there's Magistrate Tanisha Smith there. Yeah.
Right,
And Ed
she-
Usher. Dickie knows Ed Usher. He did some work with him just the other day, too. Yeah.
I
And
don't know
Darcy.
if they're friends because they're always in court. So, right?
Fighting?
We'll
Fighting?
have a-
And that's Belize Bank. Yeah, those are their 2 volunteers that came in to talk to the kids about money and money management as well in that day, and
Wonderful.
accounting. We had 2 that wanted to be accountants.
Through the
Yeah,
process, do
maybe-
they always break up into little groups or do they have big
Yes,
gatherings?
because it's huddle time with the professionals. So if it's only one, so for instance, the civil engineer, only 2 students wanted to be engineer. So all you do is pull in a little corner. This is not a PowerPoint presentation. You are in
Talking.
it with the student. They ask you questions directly. You're responding, and they're engaged because it's what they want to do. Last year, I was sharing with G Mike. We had a student who said, "I don't know what I want to do, but I enjoy playing in dirt." And so we brought Jaime to talk about archaeology and digging and doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they talked for almost an hour and a half. Right? They're engaged in the fact that these people are willing to be there with them and for them. It changes the trajectory of who they are and what they want to be.
Wonderful.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Sounds
You're
good.
kicking me out one more time. So thank you so much.
No, you could keep going.
No.
Thank
You
you
have
very
your-
much.
You have Dickie, and he always has a lot to say from his
Does
own
he?
talk show
Does
to now
he?
being a part of it. So
Dickie has changed. He has mellowed out.
I don't believe that for a minute. You see how far down the glasses has gone now? He's like, yeah.
Thanks, Carolyn. We'll see you next year in Belize, baby. Have a nice night. Thanks.
Good
yeah,
night.
Dickie, who is that behind you? Malcolm X, it looks like. Is that it?
Yeah, a young
You're
Malcolm.
coming
no?
real radical tonight.
No, actually, it's a painting that was done by one of my sons.
But that not bad.
So,
Of
yeah,
Malcolm X, right?
I hope so.
But that's a good image. That not bad at all. The man got talent, man. Man,
I think that young Dickie.
where that against the wall? Yeah, Dickie. I mean, you're the age the man. Dickie still young.
Where is no ordinary Joe?
The man not show up tonight, boy. I don't know if
Okay.
I don't know. And actually, I haven't heard from him. I don't know if he in Belize or he traveled on the road or something. He might
Yeah.
pop in later. I don't know. But we're here. The rest of us are here. of course, we want to welcome you to the show. There's a lot to talk about, Dickie. State of emergency. What are the situation there? How you they've extended it for another 60 days, I believe.
I was yeah, I
Is
was
it
disappointed.
working?
I was disappointed to hear that the Senate extended it, but I've always said the Senate is a rubber stamp. So once the House pass anything, they normally feel obliged
bam.
that they have to do it.
For a long time, I've been advocating for to just abolish the Senate. I didn't think they were useful, but when I listened to some of the speeches yesterday, in particular Herrera, Kevin Herrera, I was very, very impressed at his contribution. And what do you think? Was he making sense to you, or was it just to me?
I confess and I can swear to the truthfulness of this confession. I have never, in all my years, when I was in government, against government, for government, whichever party, I've never actually heard a meeting at the House or the Senate, except when I was passing through. Well, I don't.
You don't sit down and you don't listen to it.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Did you listen to Netanyahu today?
No. I missed that.
I wasn't interested myself, actually.
Okay. The clippings that I sent you today comes from a newspaper published in Britain. It's called the Guardian Global Edition.
Okay.
I find it to be extremely informative. I've been reading it from the time I went to university. I met that newspaper in the library one evening, and by the second evening, I tore out the subscription portion of one of the pages, and I subscribe. And I'm talking from the 1980s. I've been subscribing until this magical instrument came along, and we could read other people's newspaper without much
subscription.
Problem. I've never abandoned the Jamaica Gleaner. The British Guardian, the New York Times, although they do a subscription now, they give us a cheap rate at 99 cents. And the London Times, there is an Israeli Times, but I get my news from those, and like, I don't want to sound any kind of way, but I read these every morning, G, Mike, and Morrison. And
Yes.
Every morning when I'm doing my skipping or my thing, it's between those two. So I miss the talk shows in the morning in terms of, I don't miss it. So like, boy, I really don't want, I don't bother to read it. And it has its drawbacks because really, I should have an idea as to what is being said in our parliament. They only meet once a month, but they function at a very low level, and they are extremely disrespectful
of each other and the country.
Of the population. So, man, they pass one law in one morning. I mean, like, I thought those things, not even the colonial government used to do that.
All three readings at the same sitting. They do it often.
This is really disrespectful to the very concept of democracy. I mean, because I'm an attorney, I have a subscription to the Gazette, because many laws and many other requirements, legal requirements, if it's not published in the Gazette, it is not official. And in terms of laws, the laws actually require that it must be published in the Gazette. But who read the Gazette, my brother? And the problem with that is that there are very important legal things published in the Gazette. And we live in 2024, and we have at least, some semblance of local television, and we certainly have newspapers. In the case of the radio and the television, the broadcasting law makes it mandatory on the owners and publishers that a percentage, a proportion of their airtime must be granted to public matters. And it's shameful that nobody can just take up a gazette and say, on the second page here, the government is acquiring 1,000 lands in the Belize district, and they have not said what they will use it for. Nothing. We just don't know really what is going on in the country. And it doesn't help because the House of Representatives meet sometime around 10 in the morning, and by 2, 3 o'clock, all the official business is over.
But even the opposition, don't you think, should have some kind of venue where they air out these issues and bring it to the public's attention?
Well, I understand from my colleagues that their television doesn't seem to be functioning. They have the morning show, and after that, it's just one image, one image on the, not even music, just an image on the screen. No, it's disappointing, gentlemen and ladies. It's disappointing because, man, if there's one thing wrong with Belize, it's that we are so poorly informed and we are literally ignorant in the English sense of the word of what the issues really are. We if somebody sat in Washington and tried to design out how to keep us backward and unaware of what is going on, they couldn't have done a better job, because we have Love FM, Channel 7, Channel 5, X Television, 13, plus TV, which was dynamic some years ago. But what I seem to understand is that once they show the news, they then switch over to foreign shows again. So 50 minutes for Belize, and then we continue to brainwash our people and subject them to mostly movies from America, violence, and you know.
And most of the news are crime news. If it bleeds, it leads. So I think that a big part of the problem, because it presents an image to people outside that we're doing worse than we are. Actually, we're doing bad enough.
We have created that image in the Belizean community abroad, that Belize is a place where violence is
prevalent.
Even people in the districts, they really don't come to Belize City unless they have to. They are fearful of coming to this. It's real dread, man. You know, before Wilfred Ellington won election and became a part of the government, he touted for sometimes that he would really try to see how he could get a public television along the lines of PBS. America has a channel called PBS, Public Broadcasting Service.
Yes.
That you can get a lot of knowledge and information on. But I know he was, even when he was in government, he was lobbying donor countries to try and see how he could advance that idea, which is a very excellent idea. I imagine it's a bit expensive, but look what you guys are doing with minimum monies. We are in that age now, so I don't think it should be rather that difficult if there are persons who have the will to sustain a kind of program. Imagine we just spoke with Dr. Gentle Ginetti, who's a wealth of knowledge and information, and we should be able to access our people like that on an ongoing basis. That's what a public broadcasting service would do, and we keep the party politics out of it completely and focus on issues, no?
Well, certainly while government wastes money on a lot of less important issues, I don't think we're going to be able to expect them to jump in there at all, because it's not to their benefit to inform the people. Huh?
Yeah. Yes, and we are, to point out, Dickie, we also have a program for C-SPAN which talks about they cover mainly what the affairs of what's happening in national government and local government, and then at times they also have different type of programming that have interviews with authors or politicians or different people like
No, it
that.
is excellent. Yeah, they have a book. They have a book program as well. Why no ordinary Joe on the plan on your screen?
Speak of the devil and him appear.
Speak of the devil and an angel appear. Louis Gill.
Well, what about it? The guy thought all the time that G Mike was there.
I will make no more comment.
Oh boy!
One of
Mr. Dickey.
One of our listeners, viewers, Louis Gill, just asked if we could comment on the United States. Here it is. Today, the U.S. Embassy lauded the $1 million projects they are supporting for good governance in Belize. Oh my goodness, he wants me to expand. I'm very poor on expanding. But I heard about it. I haven't seen the news as yet. I'm not sure that maybe it falls under their good governance matter, but I'm not so sure that it's a huge amount of money. I think they gave 4 organizations $250 million each. I don't see any money going to CREM and X Television, which has been basically pioneering in educating citizens of Belize, although I understand their signal is not as wide as Love FM signal. But man, Amandala, Cremandala, XTV has been showing us documentaries on Martin Luther King, documentaries on Malcolm X, documentaries on the struggle of the Black communities in the United States of America, and of course the achievements of other places on the globe, which we would never hear about unless we see those documentaries.
They have some good programs.
CREM started out being an educational, informative, and they have been struggling from then until now. I was thinking that maybe I will look at the news on the television, on the internet tomorrow, but I think I will send a letter to the U.S. Embassy, to the new ambassador, to ask if they could.
Oh, we have a new ambassador? It's not Michelle Kwan?
If I may have an ambassador, we were going without an ambassador for a while.
Michelle Kwan is not the ambassador?
Right. She's new.
Oh, relatively new. She's been there over a year now, 2 years now.
Yeah, but that's relatively new. We were going for years without anyone.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to say I have watched what she's been doing, and I've been very impressed. She seemed to be getting out a lot in the community of Belize and participating in so many events and activities that I'm impressed with the forward movement of what she has done, and I think it's more on her initiative, because I've never seen a U.S. ambassador being so out in the community.
That involved, no?
Yes.
That's helpful. I think I think there was some mention in one of the radio. I can hear the radio when I'm traveling in my vehicle. There's some mention that a big man from America is in the country, an assistant secretary of state for the region, for Belize's region.
Okay.
And he will be meeting with the government officials. I don't think there's any meeting with activists, with G. Mike Reed, with
at the Charlie Burton Park or the Yabra Green. We'd like to see that.
But my point is that one of the issues he's here on is the matter of migration in the region. And you guys will all know that the Democrats and the vice president is going to take some hard punches over the failure of America to control their southern borders. What America has done is they have succeeded in getting Belize, the Central American and the Caribbean nations to sign, I think it's probably a Los Angeles Declaration, that we would do everything to stop migrants from exiting our country. If they come here on their way to America, we are going to hold them here. If they get in Mexico on their way to America, Mexico will hold them there. What America is trying to do, and I imagine with the elections just a few months away, and the pressure that will come on the Democrats, they need the Central American countries and Mexico to really really try their best to hold all these migrants who are heading into America, no?
Yeah.
But I want to tell a lot of Dickie, don't you think? I mean,
well, I imagine Mexico has agreed, and America can't really pressure Mexico to do anything they don't want to do, so they sweeten the pot with money. But well, it's a complicated matter because you know what? These papers that I tell you I read, I have over the years been slightly brainwashed by them into seeing things from their perspective, and I'm particularly speaking now at the issue of migrants. The white tribes that rule the world, those particularly concentrated in Europe, which is facing an unprecedented invasion of poor people looking for a better life. They have reached the stage now is that, listen, they're prepared to shoot you in your boat, sink the boat and all on the dead because we don't want to, no, don't come. If I could quote Kamala Harris when she was in Guatemala, do not come. Do not come. They no longer want non-white peoples to come to their country because if we look at the United States of America, which had basically an open door immigration policy a few decades ago. In fact, I want to segue and say this one more time, that the breaking up of the Creole society and the Creole tribe in Belize stems from two major matters. I'm sure there are other ancillary matters, but that breakup came about following the terrible destruction that Belize City experienced with the 1961 Hurricane Hattie. What happened, my understanding, is that they weren't an embassy, they were
consulate.
Thank you. There was a consulate, but America opened their doors to us and they offered to take in Belizeans who could just establish that they had some family or friends that they were prepared to. We could go there. We don't want to be wandering around their street. So we showed an address, and that started breaking up the Creole society. Our best peoples, our disciplined adults, parents started going for a better life. And I want to throw in here that Belize City before my time, but I grew up with my grandparents as well as my mom. But Belize City was why the British really neglected us. I can tell you, we were shitting in buckets and throwing it in what were basically just waterways. We call them canals. And all of you, Joe and G. Mike, we all gone to school in Belize. And one of the things we children used to say was that the riddle, what is the difference between the
somebody was suggesting that when they pointed to Jamaica and some of the other former British colonies, and when you compare it to Belize, that the British at least left over there some monuments, some bridges, some
well, they were bigger societies,
but not much was left in Belize at all.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing in Belize and there was nothing to live in Belize.
Yeah.
Once lagwood and mahogany started becoming scarce, that was it for the British interest in the country. They had no interest.
It was purely exploitation and extraction.
Yeah, 100%. That's what colonialization did. But my point, which I want to come back to, is that the exodus of our parents, and in this case now grandparents, in the 1960s deprived a generation of growing up with some kind of role models, some kind of discipline, some kind of requirement that you go to Sunday school or you go to church, that you go to school, that they don't want you to. They would actually tell you, you want to go up and be a drain man, because there are people who used to sweep the drains. Nobody sweep no drain now. In fact, I don't think they got drain anymore. But there was a discipline in the society. And so all those people left. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, when I was going to college, that every time you turn around, somebody was not attending classes, and then you got the word that they reached in America.
Yeah, they gone,
So
yeah.
they were actually taking their children out of school
Indeed.
to go to America. I had a cousin, his name was Lino Dillit, but his mom is a young, and my mom is a young, and we lived just 2 streets away from each other. He was a little older than myself, but he came on Wagner Lane to Coton Jenny Smith. I should be calling names, but my point is that he left his job at the audit to go to the United States of America. I always remember how proud his mom and his sisters and brothers were that, in fact, his photograph, an 8x10 picture, was on the wall with Lino in his United States Army uniform in front of the flag. This seems to be a standard picture that they take of all the soldiers.
All enlisting.
Yes, and then he came home in a beautiful coffin.
Why?
It's pretty. It looked like silver. It must have been some, I don't know. Maybe it was metal. It was a beautiful coffin, but you know.
But talking about that too, Dickie, because many of them that they took out of school and took over were sent back after they found out that they were problematic.
But that's long afterwards, no?
The culture shock was kind of like immense. Now some of
Yeah.
them,
But
not all of them went into the army or got into.
But
gainful
in terms of coming back, could have been a few percentage compared to those who went and left and had 2 jobs and mom work and dad work, and they took their pictures and they sent it back, and we were all awed at people walking in the snow or sitting in front of a big floor television and so on. But let me jump ahead. So Hurricane Hattie started the destruction of the Creole race, and then come 1980, American television came into our minds, into our brains, into our, and we had not been ready for that.
Yeah.
And then recently, I'm just reminded that our children has been invaded by this magical thing on their phone.
WhatsApp. TikTok.
You can see anything on your phone, my boy.
No.
Nobody reading no mandala. Nobody interested whether they have a program or not. Today in Belize, there was a book launch at which Mr. Larry Vernon, a former librarian, has written his 14th book, and he published a book called The Dean Barrow Story. And apart from the party politics with the UDP and the PUP, Dean Barrow has been an outstanding citizen of our country. Nobody interested in that, my boy. That only just make like maybe 3 minutes of the news, and that's it for a book.
You have to make a movie.
None of the media. I called my daughter. None of the media
showed up.
Offered to say. They probably showed up and took a little interview with Mr. Vernon, but nobody says, well, on our Wednesday night panel with so and so and so, we'll be discussing the book, or make sure you join us next week. We'll be nothing. That's it for that book. I am finishing reading. I have it right here. Let me just get it since I have it.
The same book?
No.
Oh,
you bad.
This has come and gone, That's it for this. This is getting any kind of traction. Nobody is interested in what are in the pages.
Professor wrote that book.
Who did?
Sorry?
The professor at the University of Belize.
Yeah, Joseph
I think is a night. Huh?
Yeah.
Joseph Eo?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was. I saw a little clip of his introduction of the UVAD book on Miss Coleman's podcast maybe about 3 or 4 months ago.
Listen, but Joseph Eo is I think still yet a lecturer at the University of Belize. Now, I have succeeded in making a lot of, maybe not enemies, but certainly not friends. We have the University of the West Indies branch here in Belize City. We have Galen University on the western road towards Cayo. We have the University of Belize, where our taxes go to subsidize that national university to the tune of millions of dollars. They have branches in Toledo, they have in Belmopan, they have in Belize City, and probably have elsewhere. 3 universities. Nobody ever discussed a book. None of them ever could put together a couple of their lecturers who could tackle this issue of crime. Crime has gone up in Belize, you know, the murder rate has gone up by about 20% odd. Crime has stopped any kind of investment or development on the south side of Belize City for over 10, 15, 20 years. Nobody not open nothing over there because gunman they pass and rob you. You can't go to a dance hall on the south side of Belize. You can't go to a nice restaurant on the south side of Belize. This is just unacceptable in a society. In Belize City, the majority of people live on the south side of Belize City. Nothing is happening, my boy. All that's going on there, the Chinese are opening up hardware stores and they're opening up all kind of other things and so on. But this is because of violent crime.
But you're painting a dismal picture. Is it really?
Because it is dismal. It's not a happy thing. We're not a happy people.
Going back a little bit, do you remember somewhere time around when we were speaking about 1980s? Did you remember Said Musa making a comment that television is worse than an army of 1,000 men invading, or 10,000, and he has been proven prophetic, man.
Yes, well, you know, at the time.
But again, too, I don't know that it's as dismal as you painted, Dickie.
Well, you show me the happy spot.
You know what the problem I see is that when they granted the television license, they didn't put the enforcement that a part of the programming had to be locally produced. And that has created the problem where it's dominated by 50 minutes of news and the rest of the day, the other 24 hours or 23 hours.
You can't build a nation like that.
Yep.
You can't build a nation. You know why too? You know why? I remember myself and Glenn Tillett, Joe's good friend. Joe is the mentor for Glenn. Myself and Glenn Tillett were on a television program, and they asked the question if television in Belize is contributing towards developing the country. And I had said I have my doubts, and Glenn had a different view. But is there anything on television for people who want to have a little backyard farm? Is there anything that on Friday, on a Wednesdays or a Fridays or a Mondays, you can tune in and they can tell you, listen, to get bananas is the easiest thing. You just put down the little banana sucker and he will take care of himself. I didn't even know you don't have to water. You don't have to water it. You know, banana and plantain, they're like coconut tree. You get the root in the ground and they want to take care of themselves. To make a whole lot of things, but I'm just making the point. There's nothing on Belizean television to encourage agriculture.
Hold on a second, Lisa, mute your mic for me. Let me see something, because I hear echo and then I see your picture jumping. Yeah. That is it. There's something I'm getting. No, not you, Dickie. I see Lisa's picture jumping, and then I've been hearing that echo. It seems as you have maybe you have something on that's causing it. But that's all right.
No,
Let me hold on, Dickie. I wanted to bring in Joe for a minute because I want to get another opinion of what you're saying, and if Joe has the same sentiment. Joe, is it as bad as Dickie is suggesting that it is?
It's evidently bad, Mr. Chairman. So whether it's as bad as he says, when he describes it as dismal, I believe if it is not, we are almost there. But number one, maybe dismal, but try to give my why we got where we are.
Hold on, Lisa, you'll have to mute until you're ready to speak. We're going to listen to you, right? But yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think it is important for us indeed to I would accept it as being dismal. It's better than for it to be try to make it look better than it is. But we have to try to now understand how is it that we got where we got. And I was listening to the citing instances of the Hurricane 61, where the United States did offer sanctuary to many Belizeans, and that he says may have contributed to it. I remember clearly the period on when UBAD started in Belize, and I think UBAD made a tremendous contribution in terms of consciousness of Black people in the country, which was very much needed. But I have a different view. I'm not suggesting that the migration from the hurricane could not have contributed to some of the decline. But to me, there was something coming up when it comes to the religious denominations. I know we had some problems with church-state education. But what I sense that brought about, I think, the difference is when we shifted the education away from the heart, if I will call it such. When our children were no longer made to have to go to Sunday school or to go to church. And I believe that could have triggered, to a great extent, the disfiguration of our behavior. What we were doing over that period, when it comes into self-government of 64, the hurricane was 61, there was no doubt that there are far more people that were going to secondary and tertiary. But the truth about it, the sense of the value system had already begun to be transformed from what I thought was a more religious-based institutional education, which had in it the fear of God in us.
How do you respond to a person like Greg that might suggest that what was happening was some form of brainwashing as opposed to
Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth.
Correct. Correct me now. Tell me.
I would believe that at an early age, we all would be indoctrinated. That is the responsibility of the parents to indoctrinate us. But they indoctrinate us in what? Until when we can reach the age of reason, and then we can decide, well, whether we want to go this way or not.
Yeah.
But by that point, it's not too late. You're already everything is entrenched. I mean.
No, I was. Let me just mention. I was sent. I born at Wagner Lane, which is one street away from Albert Street, and as you would know, Albert Street is two small. Now, one small street from Foreshore. I was a Cub Scout, and then I was a Scout. And my poor mother used to stress herself out because I may have mentioned that on my mother's side we are people from the sea. My grandfather was a lighthouse keeper at Half Moon Key. I used to go in his sailboat, and it took us 2 days to reach. I would see the moon, I'd see the sun, I would see the moon, I'd see the sun, I would still not reach. But when I was a Cubs, because I learned to swim from being a little child, they almost take me out of both Cubs and Scout because they can't keep me out of Foreshore water. At that time, you could stand on the seawall and you could look in the water and see the surf, the bottom of the sea. You could see the sand, you could see the skate, you could see the rat in it, you could see sheephead, the eat off of the brass on the sailing boat, which were moored out at Foreshore. So I'm making this point. I watched, after a church service, I saw the Scouts gathered to march off. 11 Scouts, my boy. This is a church school situation. 11 people are in the Scouts. Man, when I was a child, in fact, the Methodists, they came up with the Boys Brigade, and they had a marching band in front of the Boys Brigade. There was a Sea Scout. You take this thing for granted. My grandma make sure I did in the church youth group. That is how I ended up going all over the city when they are taking the church matters out to the villages. Let me read from Julia Young. There was about 7 to 9 participants to attend on the south side, starting with Melting Pot. Well, Melting Pot, may they right by Swing Bridge? Orange Bowl, Glass House, and others. They're all gone now, my brother.
Yeah.
Nothing like that, not about. We had the hottest disco in the whole country, Melting Pot, by the East Indians. Where the guy name is still there, still yet. He owned that big spot, Joe, by Technical College, where they have the Rice and Bean Center on North Street. There was a big. I used to take girls there. I hope my wife not listen. There was a big hotel, which he lost. I have a picture of him. I have a picture of him and Linda Rogers at Muhammad Ali's wedding. I will.
Is it Cargill? Is it Cargill?
No. Then I am not Gilly Craig, man. Bullet Craig.
Oh yes, Bullet Craig.
Yes, the Craig. They opened that thing there. My schoolmates, they were helping with tickets and with the bars and so at Melting Pot.
Yes, Bullet and no East Indian.
Yeah, what? West Indian?
No.
Bullet and cool. Sorry if you use the word. Bullet and coolie.
Bullet and Creole, man.
Bullet and coolie. I know any people there from way back.
Craig.
I play football with Gilly Ratch.
Interesting. All right. I never. He doesn't have the feature.
I know the whole family. They are East Indian. They probably mix it Creole because everybody mix it Creole.
Yeah.
All right. The Agility is saying to you all, do you remember Harry Smith and his wife? Yes, darling. Harry Smith passed away. His wife was here, I think, last year. They were my neighbors. I live upstairs and they live downstairs at my grandfather's house for many years. I know Harry Smith and Vicky, yes.
Was a public health inspector?
No, he worked at the cottage industry on Albert Street, which was a women's bureau section. Yeah. All right, Julia said I was a girl guide. I still practice my motto, be prepared.
you know what I wanted to say is that we talked about the evolution of how we saw the community and the society change, and I could remember as a young boy growing up in Belize.
Where?
This is something Kelly Street on the north side.
Yeah.
Right by Technical, right over there.
Yeah, I know
right
Kelly
over there.
Street.
Yeah. I'm right at the corner, Simon Lam and Kelly Street by the Castillo, by the warehouse. Not the
that's around the corner from Chow Sang.
Yes, right down there.
All right, that way a house me turn into a whole house when I made to go to college.
Really?
Castillo, yeah, man. Dickie Gardner,
no. Dickie Gardner was different. That warehouse. That's not the warehouse. The warehouse. There's two warehouses there. There is a Bryant warehouse at one side, Castillo warehouse,
I used to see Jody going at that warehouse.
But anyway, my point was somewhere I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s, and I could palpably feel and see the change in the society. We used to sit out in front of our yard and we'd see them start teasing people, that first there was like Hubert, then there was Mr. Robert too. Then there was a guy around the corner from us that they call Baba. And I could actually see how the harshness in the society start evolving. Because first they would tease those people, and if an adult come out and say, because you have two schools coming, you have where I was an intersect where St. Joseph was, Technical, and then the other schools from Freetown and Ebenezer and the kids that's trickling by. But first you could see that if a parent come out or an adult come, the teasing would stop. And then later on you see it continued even in the presence of an adult. And then you start seeing them even physically going and hit the person or grabbing them or it's just a evolution that you saw where where there was no guidance, nobody to stop them. I think one of the things we failed at was at one point, I don't know them, but maybe a little bit, but they had like truancy officers that would keep the kids in school and keep them moving, and this was more earlier in the and then those things went away, and school all that
Let me while you're saying that, my mind yesterday I was sharing with a judge in the Supreme Court. Let me share this with your listeners and viewers. In 2008, there were 7 or 8 gangs in the country of Belize. We started out this gang thing. Joe, you remember Ernell, your good friend Ernell Brooks?
Yeah.
There were about 7 or 8 gangs in 2008. In 2023, there are 26 known gangs in the country, I believe. Don't tell me the situation is not dismal.
So then let's look at the state of emergency.
Hold on, we'll come there. Let me
finish.
Let me finish. Let me finish. In fact, let's deal with that.
Should we go to his Mano Duro?
The minister of the police was on the news perhaps 7 or 14 days maximum, saying that he's giving thoughts. Listen to this, gentlemen and Lisa. He's giving thoughts to establishing a special court to deal with gangs. Somebody put up the two big gangs, them UDP and PUP, Crips and Bloods. Good shot.
Red and blue.
Yes. Well, they remain the two biggest gangs in the country.
Yeah. And the other gangs are surrogates of them in many ways.
Thank you. So let me go back to what I was saying. The minister is saying that he is giving thoughts to the idea of a special court to deal with the gangs. And then here, this other one here, that he will change the legislation for longer jail sentences. Right now, they charge you to be a member of a gang, 10 years minimum, 10 years, A man commit murder, they get 20, 25.
Yeah.
And then he dropped this bombshell, which nobody picked up, that he's also giving thoughts to implementing detention centers. And in response to a question about the matter with Bukele is the president of Guatemala, of Salvador, and he has so far locked up over 80,000 young people. And the guys are fighting the gangs in his country. He gets big marks all over the United States of America.
Well, we are an incarcerating country, so
yeah. Just lock up people.
We're gonna always applaud that.
But Dickie, we could always criticize these moves, but what's the alternative? Do you have any recommendations that you think might work?
You have to protect people's freedom. People have rights.
Well, you have to protect people's rights out there also, the innocent citizens
that
who
is
are
true.
victims of these crimes.
That is true, but people need opportunities.
How do you strike that balance? How do you strike the balance?
Let's listen. How we could at least discuss a surface conversation on the matter. We have 3 universities. They can put up 4 people. They can invite somebody to come and talk to us of what they did in their country about gang problems. Can we go back to the basics, gentlemen and Lisa? Problem with young people getting involved with crime is a social and economic problem at the heart of it.
Yes.
It's about fighting the cause or causes of crime. They are putting on a band-aid on a sore that is oozing and creating serious hemorrhage in our society.
Yeah.
How many people are in this gang, G. Mike? How many people are in this gang? You're talking about 100 people, 500 people?
Chairman, I remember some time ago when Chester had just come back. I did meet with him. And I said to him, my brother, the police is only here, to try to suppress what we see as crimes. But you will never be able to fight crime as a police. You have to be able to deal with the cause.
Society, the society.
And I think that what we have not been looking at, we are trying to use punitive measures as a deterrent. I don't think that will solve the problem in itself. You have to go to the cause of the problem. And we were talking about those causes a while ago. For example, we were talking about, I was a Boy Scout for 5 years. I had to go to church before I can go to Martini.
Right.
So I had to respect my elders. Otherwise, if I go there and I disrespect them, I'm going to get a whipping. So what I'm looking at is not just educating of the brain, which I think we may have done fairly well with, but we have not been continuing to educate the heart as we used to on the minds of our people. So to me, you could bring all your different punitive measures. You could bring your detentions. and that will not stop it.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you for sure, it's easier for us to sit and condemn whatever measure is attempted or whatever policy is tried to put in place than to put something that will work. What I think we need to look at is what will work. What are the recommendations for something as an alternative to what is being tried?
Well, I will throw this in very quickly, and I'm sorry that we have to we can't escape party politics in our small country, because they are the biggest gang in the land. We can't get away. A Mandela has sufficiently informed and educated us that by now we should be brainwashed into understanding this phenomena, that the Dean Barrow government, the UDP government, which had 3 terms consecutively, in which all the ministers with very, very ranking, important positions, Minister of Finance, Minister of Youth, Minister of Sport, Minister of
Southside,
were all Creoles from Belize City. 15, 16 years and nothing happened on the south side.
That's my disappointment with UDP government.
Man, we can't
That's my
pretend
disappointment.
that did not happen. We can't pretend that did not happen. But, gentlemen and Lisa, in the 2020, the people got enough and put in a new government. They have done nothing. They have done nothing for Southside. The only thing happened on Southside that G. Mike Reed put in one big park and expanded it. Yes, they have designated, I think, 2 of the high schools where you can now attend free, which is a big help, but you all know free thing never work. But at least it's better. But nothing, my boy, nothing to tackle the social and economic problem that is spawning this phenomena of young people, 15, 16, they take gun and go kill somebody else. They know they tackle the problem. You know what they want? To me, too, what I think, talking to people, I don't come up with this, talking to people. You know what they tell me? There is an area called Bailar, the famous football coach in Belize City, where people live in a crescent. It's like a D crescent. Right in Belize City, you know?
I think I'm going to cul-de-sac.
Well, I don't want to use their word.
Yeah. But yeah, I will get your point. Yeah.
Well, yeah, all right. Listen, then people tell me, Dickie, if they give me one house somewhere else tomorrow, I go in. I say, how when I may give you a house to my lake? Oh, that's too far. No, when I realize my lake not too far, that's 8 minutes away from the city. People are prepared to move out of those so-called gang-infested, going nowhere, having no future in those areas. You want to tell me that we can't find the resources? What is $10 million to help Southside to be a better place? We can't find the resources to close down all these congested, overcrowded places where lone, unemployed, poor people and poor young men sitting around all day not doing anything. We can't come up with solutions. We can't talk to them.
It would so disturb their constituent plans that they're not going to do anything.
But maybe we can't depend on them. Then we have to look to programs like what Carolyn Genety is coming up with. That certainly might help. Maybe we'll have more people involved.
Those programs have to be.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, but those programs have to be a long-term solution. It cannot be just a summer program. It has to be.
And where do the family come in? Where do the families come in? As far as returning back to somebody.
There was a long-term solution. The only problem with it that it was neglected. When we started the poverty alleviation program, and Dickie, I think you were around, we were advocating, at least some of us, that the budget needs to be totally reoriented and move away from the millions and millions in infrastructure and begin to put money into families, right on the south side indeed and on the north side. Look at the budget right now, gentlemen, right now, 1.6 billion. How much of it is going into families?
Yeah, the problem with the program, it was structured, the poverty alleviation program was that they were ministers' handout rather than a properly structured social welfare program where people can just generally go and apply and just arbitrarily get the benefits they needed. That's the failure of that program.
No,
And why
I agree. But what
well,
I'm
let me interject. Let me interject. Detra, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Detra Gillett is saying, look at Yaba Green, how beautiful it was. It was once basically going into a hot spot. More of these initiatives that include youth and accountability are required. Let me say something. There is no ministry of poverty alleviation. Can you imagine that? 60% poverty. There's no ministry to deal with poverty.
Yeah.
No
formal structure. No formal structure.
No structure at all. Not even informal. No structure. And I'm saying poverty alleviation. I'm not saying poverty eradication, which is what we really want.
Yeah.
Every year they give an accountability to the parliament. We have reduced poverty by 7%. Next year we will be able to take it down by nothing, my boy.
Let's make we hear from Joe, because Joe is big and talking about
when the program came up as poverty, when it came up as poverty alleviation. Don't mistake poverty to have meant simple because a person doesn't have material things. The poverty alleviation was to address your behavior, your mind, your whole environment. And when you look back at that period, the money that was to be spent on it never did come close to spending. As Dickie pointed out, that should have been a special ministry under the Ministry of Finance. And the money was available. It could have been done. What it costs us today now is far more by not spending it. But
well, some of the taxes,
600 million. 600 million of Petro-Caribbean money went into infrastructure and was all abuse and corrupt.
But even now, the money in tourism, a portion of it was supposed to be dedicated to community outreach and such.
Let me interject. Excellent point, Greg. Let me interject here. When I was invited to speak on this matter of trying to improve the Constitution, I want to say two things quickly. One was, I remember now, in San Pedro, several white people, a lot of the expatriates, they came to the consultation place, Rampac. You know what they were saying? It's just gone through me. They were saying that they spent an amount of money to purchase land in San Pedro. No, except for Joe, none of us can buy land at San Pedro. Very expensive. It's a joke. But listen to this. You know what they said? They said that to say this. You guys need to increase the tax that you charge on the land. Why are these expensive lands sold and your government only get a small amount of tax? So let me tell your viewers and listeners, the law is, and when Joe was there, they had made some change, and then when we turned our back, they changed it back. The law right now is that a Belizean buy a land, if the value is over $20,000 or $25,000, you need to pay 5% of the value of the land as stamp duty. That is all the government get, 5%. A foreigner who buys a land, and they're not buying no land for no south side, then they look for a place where they could invest. When they buy a land, they pay 8%. They are saying to us, why you charge so limit?
Yeah.
So here we are discussing a very serious matter close to our heart, that we need to tackle the socio-economic conditions that are breeding violence upon violence, that violence begets violence, like dog begets dog. We can raise the money, man, just add 2 or 4% on to when if a foreigner can afford to buy a land in the Placencia and Hopkins and Corozal, big chunk of land just by foreigners, and San Pedro and Kikaka for over $1 million US. Surely you could pay me 10% stamp duty or 12% stamp duty.
What would it
and
take
that
to
money
implement
challenge, and that money would be channeled just to go and develop programs that will give skills and move out all these congested areas where people, what else do they discuss? What else do people who are deprived discuss?
What would it take to implement that, and why is it not happening? I mean, it's a common sense.
What
would
vision,
sense.
that the people in the diaspora need to put on the pressure. When I said to you that don't invite them ministers to come to this diaspora, some of you all think I was joking, but don't have to put pressure upon them people. Now let me go to the second point that came about. I was asked to assist. Well, let me say what let me leave myself out. The other point I want to make is this. The tourism ministry, the money that comes in from the taxing the tourist trade in this country, the tourist ministry has millions upon millions of dollars. The other day, they built a road that boomed. The road broke right up. The TV show, the road broke up. Why? Because they're going to get their own people for build road. Instead of the money goes to the Ministry of Infrastructure, who have engineers and people who know like how much asphalt to mix with how much this. No, they're going to build the road themselves, you know. The whole road broke right up, my boy. No, they got so much money then even the build road. They spent $500,000 to put a quarter field where we used to call Berger Field on Vernon Street. $500 million. Not on people, on a Showtime project. How much football field has been built? None. How much basketball field put in? None. How much park for children? None. But $500 for Showtime. They have monies which belong to the public, which belong to the people of Belize. Now, those monies are not going into any government department, you know.
That's not the problem. It doesn't go to the proper revenue fund. Yeah.
Right, and there's a reason for that. Yeah. They are corralling that money and using it on pet projects and political projects. The way Joe tell you that the Petro-Carib for $600 million. They spent, one of the reasons they lost the election was they resurfaced Farbaj Road. Farbaj Road is not a road. They resurfaced Farbaj Road in Belize City for $8 to $9 million, my boy. One piece of street, you know. They did a road, they call it the Coastal Plains Road. We Belize used to call it Coastal Road. Coastal Road is 36 miles. They spent $200 million. 36 miles, you know. This is not going through virgin land. There was already a road there. You just need to put more stone and $200 million. Let me jump to another matter because I need to talk to a couple of you guys in the diaspora can make a difference. The Harlover Bridge was recently built and completed. The present government tell us that when they got into power and looked at the architectural and engineering and costing documents, that bridge was slated to be built for $59 million. And that the current government was able to do it for about $38 million. There's no talk of let's have an inquiry into how come that bridge was going to be $59 million. In fact, there is no discussion of how come it cost $38 million to build a bridge over, I don't know what you estimate, Joe, 100 yards, 100 or 200 feet a river. Man, we could have get somebody from right across to Mexico. They may have bring down one bridge from some barge and go there and lift that and put that on pile where we drive in at the river. One on this end of the river, the other one on the other river bank, and some in the middle. $10 million. We you say the situation is not dismal, G Mike. It's dismal. It's dismal from top to bottom. We have a budget of one. Man, we have to spend money on people. On people. You know, when my good friend, somebody is asking Sam Gentle puts up, Dickie, what is the debt? Because they have money. Where do they get it from? They borrow it, my brother. In 3 years' time, we have
borrow it or create it.
They borrow it.
No, we can't create it. We don't got the ability.
No, we do. Every central bank create.
No, but I mean, in our case, we have the IMF looking over our shoulders, so
Correct.
we
We
can't
don't
print
got
money
the
like
ability.
some countries.
We don't like America.
We do. We do.
We have a problem, gentlemen. It's a big problem. There's no accountability. We don't have no accountability. Can I share this with you? And then I give up the mic. In the United States of America recently, with all their faults, the head of the Secret Service was summoned to attend their parliamentary committee as to how one man could climb on a rooftop and shoot at a Trump. Maybe someone we want him a killer and so on and so forth. Point is, how could that happen? You have drones, you have people. I mean, how? So guess what? She was summoned by a committee, one of which is required to function as an oversight into the security apparatus in their country. This is what accountability is all about. That lady went there and she said, I ain't resigning. I'm not resigning. You know what one of the committee members tell her? You are full of shit. Why did you even come here? We're asking you some basic questions and you don't want to answer. You know what's the news in the United States of America? She handed in her resignation. People must be held accountable in our country. You have a budget of $1,500,000,000 every year. And we know to tackle poverty. We're not tackling crime. We're not tackling this whole abandonment of young people. 11 people there in a scouts. Now Girl Guide, youth. I mean, like, my boy, we need some shaking up. We need Belizeans in America. Dead serious.
Dead serious. What you are saying. Under the Constitution, the section with finance demands that those monies should be audited by the 6 months of the end of the year. Audited. I know for 78 years, none of them have been audited.
I hear you, and you know what? I'm not though a big fan of lamenting and lambasting. I'm more into try to find some solutions. I'm not hearing any alternative to what is happening. I hear no solution.
I agree.
How you find a solution if you can identify the problem?
Dickie, you were there, Dickie.
How do you provide solution if you don't identify the problems? We have to engage in what you are doing.
We cannot spend all the time talking about the problem. Maybe we need to spend some time on some of the solutions. How do we go on from here? What do we do to make this better? I do not, I say not dismal, it is dismal, but we are making it more dismal than it really is. There is hope. There must be hope.
There is.
Can I say something?
One of the solutions we can begin with. The citizens of this country need to understand that if we want democracy to be robust, we have to all participate beyond the ballot box.
But that's a good point.
And that is where I think we can begin the solution. Then we hold them accountable and stop talking about transparency and accountability. When the citizens
start demanding it,
the citizens of this country has a lot to be blamed for themselves. I'm not suggesting that the political directorate should be let off the hook. But where are our citizens in participating beyond that ballot box? In holding them accountable?
Don't they need to be educated first to have that say in how to participate and what their role is in a democracy? When they're being held down in the...
Yes, Mr. Morrison, I agree with you 100%. But who is to educate you?
Or institutions is supposed to do it, and they're failing us.
It also requires some self-education to understand that $50 where they take for vote, that $100 is going to hurt me later on, and it lasts long. So many of us are irresponsible enough that we go ahead and just take the money And that everything
You know,
after
it's
that
not
we
only
can't
little
have.
money, you know, they take big money too.
Well,
They
those are the ones that take big money
people,
indeed.
people,
Yeah.
people take washer and dryer, and people take refrigerator, and they take big money, and they take big money in many other farms, in subsidies and in land deals and in many ways that deprive the country of
Listen, I
revenue.
see they just renewed the Integrity Commission's appointments. Based on what? Why did they? What have they done anything significant? Why they deserve to be put back in there again?
Well, the law requires that the listed persons and positions submit their documentation to that particular committee. They used to gazette each of these persons' assets. I haven't seen anything in the gazette
Nothing
lately, but
yet. Yeah.
basically their job is just that. So we can't like look to them. Other than if somebody is for years not sending anything, they have the authority to get the.
Have they ever done anything? Have they ever
Yes,
done?
boy,
They
yes,
had published some people that
Hold
had not
on.
involved
right,
themselves.
right. There were some threats made publicly to persons, and they were named who were not sending in things. I guess they scrambled and hurry sending in something, no. But their role is
Well,
limited. G Mike, Lisa wanted to say something.
I wanted to go back, Mr. Bradley, to say that, and in reference to what G Mike was saying, how do we start solving some of these issues, and to what Mr. Morrison was saying, education. For one of the biggest problems we have in Belize is that we still have to pay an enormous amount of money for education, basic education. I am still yet to find that there's a school that is not required. Your children are not required to fund schooling. Schooling should be free, at least the basic education should be free, and allow those parents that have children to go to school for free using tax money. That is part of the problem, is that we are not educating. We don't have enough children and giving them basic education. The basic education they get is either from somebody who has limited education already, and that only creates and propels more of that downward socio-economic standards, as what Ms. Gentle was speaking of, earlier, of low wealth. If you have grandparents with no education, parents with limited education, and then your children have not even a basic education to standard 6, then we will continue funneling the same cycle over and over. And with the cost of living, at some point we have to balance cost of living. We cannot continue we're going to have more people in poverty if if we're not meeting cost of living.
Yes.
So education.
But the only way to do that is to produce more, because we are an open economy. We don't have control over our costs for living so long as we continue to not utilize locally produced food. So we're going to be
the answer to that is everybody pays taxes. If you buy a bad man, you pay tax.
Let's start on the last point that she raised and what Greg was contributing just now. Let's start there. We can ask Joe Cowie. Joe Cowie is a huge asset. I got big respect for Joe Cowie. We can do this and come back another night. Let's find out what is the amount of monies that we in Belize spend, which goes out of our country and contribute to the poverty and the unemployment. We buy too much food and too much drinks from abroad. We are even importing water. We are importing coconut water, coconut milk.
Yeah.
We are importing
Makes no
too many
sense.
things. We are eating too many things which are imported. You can imagine, I am no economist. This is a matter for Joe. But just look at this from a minimal point of view. These people who struggle out in the rural areas to plant and grow things, they import planting chips. I could give you a long list of things because I go to the so-called convenience store and supermarket and I look on my man, if I was like, it's like a bun place the down, you understand? What are we doing? I just talked to the guy where they do what's the thing? Jerk chicken in Belize City. We can get jerk chicken in Belize City, but it comes along with baked beans, rotted Rastafari. We have black beans, we have red kidney beans. Why you import these pig beans? For make one Rasta eat jerk chicken with pig beans. The Belize people they want their barbecue with what you call it? Baked beans, you know. Can you imagine if we were eating what we grow? How many people in the so-called rural areas would be able to have a better standard of living, could provide better educational opportunities for their families? Look on this other matter, gentlemen and lady. Look at this other matter. Somebody just post up what have they done with the $77 million for solar. It is the end of July 2024. They have done nothing. But look at
they haven't even identified where to place the solar.
Nothing. Then they look for thief the money. Look at that. If they just announce to our people, because nearly all of we got somebody that states, you can bring in your solar panel and your solar battery free, no duty. You buy it in Mexico, Guatemala, anywhere, America, anywhere, put it in a barrel, you pay no duty. You know how much money can be saved when BEL buy electricity in terms of buying diesel for their old generators. I just passed a house yesterday, then they put panel on the house top, 4 panel on one side. Man, why aren't we being encouraged as a people to just go solar on our own? I had my wife had up one lead bulb because on the other side of the house where the next step is dark. I saw a place on Central American Boulevard in front of the Muslim church. They are selling all kind of solar lights there. I bought one for my friend who has a little island 12 miles away in Robinson Point. And he can't believe it. We do nothing and he got light and got a fridge. Do nothing,
From the panel.
From 6 miles, from 6 miles away, he could sit for his island. It's $60. In states, if you will pay something $60, I believe the states are must about $15 for it.
Guys,
so my point is,
I just want someone had asked a question. How does the banks create money? And I just want to give a quick idea of that. Whenever the bank issued treasury bills and thing to the public and create that type of credit market, that's how they create money in the economy.
But it's linked to something.
The treasury bills is nothing. The treasury bills is nothing.
GDP.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's linked to the GDP. Of course, it's always tied to something.
Listen, my boy.
But I'm saying that's how they create.
We got a lot for talk about. I kind of like the ending there and some of the constructive ways that we can help. Okay. I'm big on that. Yes, we need to eat more locally produced stuff. We have enough stuff in Belize to sustain us. This eating of foreign stuff.
And it's not good for our diet. It's not good for well-being.
Listen, we're going to talk about Emancipation Day next week, Wednesday. Where Brother David was supposed to have jumped on sometime this evening. Apparently could not be in Dangrida. I don't know if he had access to the internet, reliable internet. But folks, it's been a pleasure. It's been an exciting show. Dickie, thank you. Joe, we have to do more. Gregory, big respect. Deidre, and of course, Lisa. Thank you very much. CY, we're out of here. Thank you.
Good night, gentlemen. Dickie, you have to tell us to get the book. A couple of the listeners want to buy it.
Start reading more.
And make more enemies now, Mr. G. Mike.
That's all right. We're going to handle that. Have a nice evening, guys. Respect.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
second to the one, smoke it on. Smoke it at Studio One. There again. There we go. Oh, damn yo.
It's on and popping. We keep the crowd clapping. Sexy ladies up on the dance hall. Keeps moving and stopping. Crystal by the gal. On ears we blowing. We got the rhyme for your mind. Smooth she talking. It's on and popping. We keep the crowd clapping. Sexy ladies up on the dance hall. Keeps moving and stopping. Crystal by the gal. On ears we blowing. We got the rhyme for your mind. Smooth she talking. We keep dance all cars long after dark. Now watch your face, you know we just sharp. Khaki suit and gloves. Empress love how we park. With a frat with a big white shark. When we play football, the whole team get rocked. You the ice up on the pinky, watch this spark. Fat monkey girl, we in the dark. Execs rejected it. What? Or the sheets requested it. Oh, who job bless? Who job bless? No man can curse him again. Execs rejected it. Nah, or the sheets requested it. Who job bless? Who job bless? No man can curse him. Salsa, it's on and popping. We keep the crowd clapping. Sexy ladies up on the dance hall. Keeps moving and stopping. Crystal by the gal. On ears we blowing. We got the rhyme for your mind. Smooth she talking. It's on and popping. We keep the crowd clapping. Sexy ladies up on the dance hall. Keeps moving and stopping.
Violence prevention, that with the mention. Why you have to spit with so much bad intention? So I'm gonna say it, so shall it be. What's the seed far close to the G? You know, say retire of the negativity, plus you stay the complete. Even though you have the Lord, they fall like rain. Still want drive in another man lane. You don't need no gimme, to make the lyrics popular. You don't need no fire pan, no stick, make it the ball.
I believe and massive, me begging if you just live progressive because you really like to real life it will live. When it comes to earthquakes like Jack Dave, general the ball, ready for get no forgive. Aggressive, assertive, attentive, innovative. Black people representative. We wanna just lean back and check remote. Sing out right now. You them they kill one another. Right now all the time. Feel the prayer to the Father. Right now. Believes under fire. Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. You them they kill one another. Right now all the time. Feel the prayer to the Father. right now. Blind lead the blind, prophecies fulfilled, signs of the time. When Satan billions, them call it white collar crime. Granny scrape the pennies, but she cannot find a dime in the comfy. One more wrong and that them coke and wine. If vanity, then they try this time mankind. So them might get snatched up from behind and bleed to the eye when job bind the twine. Cause of them economy on decline, moral fabric of society on decline, ecosystem on decline. Them could have been started all day, one thing they can't find, and that's a peace of mind. Sing right now, you say me kill one another right now in the time. Truly pray to the Father right now. Please under fire right now, right now, right now, right now. You say me kill one another right now in the time. Truly pray to the Father right now. Spread the news to your brother right now, right now, right now, right now. Hey boy, the move savage. Poor people need 10 more stimulus package. So all them food for them cause all the damage. Boom. Yes, I don't find nothing in the wreckage. Big cigar, hunting cottage. Wife for the globe check. Horse and carriage. Look like they want with it start eat out a garbage. Bump that, red that, melon flip bust like cabbage. Wake up, smell the raw sewage. Junk stomach to digest all the carnage. Poor people not forgetting no left wing. So them left with the whole is thinking luggage. And boy, I did get the message. Read the Bible but miss certain passages. Collins, up to